It is essential, it cannot be negotiated upon. The Cambridge Dictionary defines elocution as the art of careful public speaking. Give each word its due. Each and every word has to be clear. Hello and welcome. This brief encounter is with elocution, which is broadly defined as the art and style of public speaking. This video is for students, teachers, and parents, and it lists the steps and procedures for elocution preparation. While we perceive elocution as an area of competition or performance, if we look at the word historically, elocution is derived from the Latin word elocution, which means a manner of speaking or a manner of expression. This is significant because it liberates the word elocution from being limited to this idea of a performance, which we consider it to be, and rightly so. We express ourselves not only while speaking in front of an audience, but even in conversations of small gatherings or small interactions. However, the Cambridge Dictionary defines elocution as the art of careful public speaking, using clear pronunciation and good breathing to control the voice. And it is this idea of elocution as a performance that this video pertains to. And I would like to begin by introducing you to the two pillars of elocution: what you say and how you say it. The first thing and the most important aspect of what you say is the quality of the piece. When I say the piece, I mean the poem, the prose, or the speech that we have to say, we have to recite, or we have to narrate. The quality of the piece matters because there are separate points that are allotted for it in competitions. If we take a good piece, a piece that has inherent value in it, a classic or even a contemporary piece that is very well recognized, appreciated, and has a lot of value in it, then our responsibility is to express its idea, to express its sentiment, its beauty, joy, humor, or horror, depending on the genre that it falls under. If we take a bad piece, we have an added responsibility of making it interesting. It's an added burden on the person who is performing the piece. Now, while those who are experienced can make a good job out of a bad piece as well, for beginners, I would recommend take a classic, take a piece that is popular, that is well liked, and that has a lot of inherent value in it already, because that's going to make your job of performing it much better, much easier. And there are 3 steps in which we can undertake this task, we can accomplish this task. The first is to pick a writer, author, or poet from your literature textbook. Pick a piece from your literature textbook that you like, or you enjoy, or one that you understand best. The next step is to look up the author, writer, poet of that piece. The final step is to take another piece by that same author, writer, or poet from the internet. Understand that piece and perform that one. Another aspect of what you say is the organizer's leanings. It is advantageous, it is favorable to have an idea of the leanings of the organizers. Do they lean more towards traditional pieces, or do they lean more towards contemporary pieces? This might not always be the case, but it is best to confirm if there is such a leaning or if there is such a preference in the organization which is conducting the competition. Doing a thorough research of the organization also helps us to understand whether there are any other rules or regulations that we must keep in mind, because elocution is about expressing oneself. So if there are any regulations pertaining to attire or conduct, it's best to be aware of it so that we don't lose points on account of being ignorant. I have personally witnessed circumstances and issues wherein my contemporaries lost points and even lost winning positions because they were not dressed in uniform. Now, it depends on whether an organization strictly adheres to its regulations or if it even has any such stipulations. But to be on the safe side, it is best if we confirm, if we look it up at least. So I would consider this an equally important aspect of what you say, is to make sure that you're aware of the organization's leanings, preference in terms of your prose, in terms of your piece. The third aspect of what you say is understanding what you're saying. And this understanding has two implications. The first one is understanding your forte. Do you enjoy beauty more, or do you enjoy horror more? Do you enjoy happy pieces more or sad pieces more? And can you express these as well as you enjoy these? You should perform what you enjoy and what you can express. The second implication of the understanding is understanding every single line and every single word in the piece that you are reciting. Because elocution is about expressing it. When we are speaking in front of an audience, when we are speaking in public, we are either trying to elicit an emotion, we are trying to convey a sentiment, or we are trying to create an impact. We're trying to express an idea or an emotion. It's either one of those two things. And to have that effect, to create that effect, we need to understand ourselves, what it is that we're trying to say. Now, as we grow older, of course, we all understand the words that we are using. But for those who are watching and preparing children for elocution, please ensure that children understand what they are trying to convey. Give them numerous other examples of situations that the sentence refers to, so that they have a very clear idea of what is going on in the story or in the poem. Because then they're going to be able to express it better, because they understand it. And they might even try to bring out their understanding of that sentence, of that line, or of that phrase. And of course, it's going to make the entire process greatly more enjoyable. Now we move on to the second pillar, which is how you say it. And this is further subdivided into two categories: articulation and expression. Articulation refers to the words we use to express something, to convey something, and how we use those words, how we utter those words, the clarity of speech, the fluency of the words, the manner of speaking. An effective practice in becoming more articulate is exercising of the facial muscles, and especially opening the mouth as wide as possible while learning how to speak or how to recite. When we open the mouth wide while learning, what happens is that the movement of the tongue becomes more free while forming the letters and words. Consider it similar to the practice of learning how to write. When we start, we write large letters so that we get the lines, the curves, and the corners correct. Similarly, when we practice, when we learn by opening the mouth as wide as possible while speaking, and especially for children, it trains the tongue to pronounce words and letters correctly. It trains the tongue with respect to its placement in the mouth for specific letters and words. And that is why when, after having practiced this, even if we don't open our mouth wide while speaking, and even if we speak slowly or softly or without opening our mouth like a crocodile, our words are clear, they are lucid. In the same way that after practicing writing large letters, even if we write in a small handwriting, another person reading our work can understand what we have written. It may look funny to us while we practice, opening the mouth wide, and it may even feel funny to us, but it is highly effective, and in elocution it is imperative, because not only does it make us more clear to the audience, but it also impresses upon the audience the impact of what we are trying to convey, the emotion or the sentiment we are trying to convey. Another important point for being more articulate is to not rush the speech. It happens with all of us that when we have memorized something, we tend to speak very fast, we tend to recite it very fast. But we forget that the audience has not memorized it, and the audience needs time to understand what we are saying, to comprehend what we are saying. And elocution is not just about vomiting everything that we have learned. It is about expressing. It is about inciting an emotion in the audience, conveying a message, conveying an idea. And for that, it is imperative that they understand what we are saying. So don't rush the speech. Move on to the next word only after you have finished or completed the previous one. Give each word its due. Now, in conversations, we are all guilty of eating up the last letter of a word or the last word of a sentence because it is understood. We are having a conversation with someone and some things are understood without having explicitly saying it. People can finish each other's sentences, but omitting a word in a sentence or a letter in a word, especially towards the end, while it may be excused in conversations, it is not excused in elocution. Points will be deducted for it if we are going for a competition, and it is essential. It cannot be negotiated upon. Each and every word has to be clear. As the Cambridge Dictionary very well said, that breathing is an important aspect of elocution. The correct way of breathing is to breathe through your diaphragm, which means that when we inhale, it is not our chest which should inflate and expand, but rather it should be the stomach that inflates and expands first. After it has expanded or inflated like a balloon to its full capacity, if we can still inhale more air, then the chest can expand. Breathing through the diaphragm is significant because it prevents us from not emptying our lungs when we are speaking on stage. When we start speaking in front of an audience, we are nervous and we tend to throw all the air out from our lungs into the microphone. And this makes us breathless. When we are breathless, we look nervous even if we are not nervous. So to avoid it, we need to know the proper way of breathing and to regulate our breathing. So once we inhale a deep breath into our diaphragm before we begin speaking, we hold it in, and as we release the breath, we begin to speak. That is why it is also essential to pace yourself while speaking, to not rush the words, because if you have appropriate pauses in the speech or in your piece, it gives you space, time, room to inhale another breath. And that way you don't run out of breath while you are speaking. The audience doesn't feel that you are rushed or you are nervous. They can understand what you are speaking, what you are expressing. For more videos on breathing through your diaphragm or how to breathe through your diaphragm, I will link other videos in the description box below. You can check them out. They explain much better and in greater detail how to do it and the health benefits of it as well. The final aspect of articulation is pronunciation. When in doubt, check the pronunciation of each word that you are speaking. Because again, in conversations, an off pronunciation might be excused, but in an elocution competition, it absolutely will not be, and points will be deducted for it. Pronunciation is absolutely imperative. You might be able to get away with sounding a little breathless You might be able to hide it or sneak it in the way that your piece is delivered, but if your pronunciation is off, there is no way to cover it up. The final aspect of how you say it is expression, which entails voice modulation, the tone of one's voice, and facial expressions. Facial expressions are considered to be the easiest. What is most difficult, however, is to bring pauses into what we are saying, because when we memorize something, we tend to rush with it. Another aspect of not rushing is the important phrases, the important words, and important sentences in the piece must be given their due pause. Pause after an important phrase. Give the audience time to understand what you have said and why you have said it. Let the word sit in the air for a while. Let it settle into the mind of the audience and create the impact that you want it to create. And then continue with the rest of the piece. So, elocution is about what you say and how you say it. What you say is a matter of the quality of the piece, the organization's leanings or the leanings of the organizers, if they have any, and understanding what you are saying. How you say it is a matter of articulation, which is the words we use to express something, and the way in which those words are uttered. And the second is expression, which is making what you are saying engaging and impactful. And with that, we conclude this brief encounter with elocution. Do subscribe if it is helpful. Thank you so much for watching.